I gave my brother a job in my company to help him get back on his feet. But instead he spread rumors about me, turned employees against me, and tried to take over the business I had worked my entire life to build. That's what I keep telling myself. I sit here in my empty office, staring at the resignation letters piling up on my desk. 3 more today. My marketing director, my head of operations, and Sarah from accounting, who used to bring me coffee every morning with that warm smile. They don't smile at me anymore. It started 6 months ago when Jake called me at 2 a.m. crying. The golden child who could do no wrong in mom's eyes had just lost his 3rd job in 2 years. His wife had left him, taken the kids, and he was facing eviction. I need help, man. I'm drowning here. I should have sent him money. I should have helped him find an apartment. I should have done literally anything except what I did. But no, I thought I was being noble. I thought I was saving him. Come work for me, I said. I'll create a position. Business development. You're good with people. The lie came so easily. Jake wasn't good with people. He was good at charming people long enough to get what he needed from them. But he was family, and I'd spent 15 years building my marketing consultancy from nothing. Surely I could handle one troubled brother. My wife Emma tried to warn me. He's not ready for responsibility. He needs to figure himself out first. He's my brother, I said, like that explained everything. Like somehow erased patterns of behavior. Emma just nodded and went back to helping our 8-year-old daughter Lily with her homework. Even then, I could see the worry in her eyes. Emma had always been the smart one between us. She saw people clearly without the rose-colored glasses of obligation and guilt. I created the position of business development manager specifically for Jake. $45,000 a year, full benefits, and a quarter office I'd been saving for my next hire. I introduced him to the team as my brother and told everyone to make him feel welcome. They did. God help me, they really did. Jake was charming those first few weeks. He remembered everyone's names, asked about their families, bought lunch for the office twice. He had this way of making people feel like they were the most important person in the room when he talked to them. I was so proud watching him work the room during our monthly all-hands meeting. He cracked jokes that landed, asked thoughtful questions about our clients, and even suggested some process improvements that actually made sense. See, I told Emma that night, he just needed a chance. He's thriving. Emma hummed noncommittally while folding Lily's laundry. Just keep your eyes open. But I didn't want to keep my eyes open. I wanted to believe in the fairy tale where the troubled younger brother turns his life around and the successful older brother gets to be the hero of the story. The first red flag came 3 weeks in. My assistant mentioned that Jake had been asking questions about coin contracts and profit margins. When I confronted him about it, he laughed it off. Just trying to understand the business better. How else can I develop it? Made sense. I even felt bad for questioning him. The second red flag was when he started staying late. Not working late, staying late. I'd see him in the break room chatting with whoever else was pulling overtime. Always with a from the office fridge and that easy smile that made people drop their guard. Building relationships. He called it when I asked. The third red flag was when my best client Marcus called me directly instead of going through our usual account manager. Hey, I just want to make sure we're still on the same page about our contract renewal. Marcus said. Your brother mentioned there might be some changes coming. I went cold. What kind of changes? He said you were thinking about restructuring the account management, possibly bringing in some fresh perspectives. Said he might be taking over our account personally. I found Jake in his office, feet up on the desk, scrolling through his phone. We need to talk. He looked up with those same innocent eyes that had gotten him out of trouble our whole lives. What's up? You spoke to Marcus about taking over his account. Oh, that. He waved his hand dismissively. We were just brainstorming. I had some ideas about how we could better serve his needs. Jake, you've been here less than a month. You don't just approach clients about restructuring without talking to me first. Relax, man. I was just being proactive. Isn't that what you want from me? He said it with that smile, that tone that suggested I was overreacting. The same tone he'd used when mom caught him stealing from her purse in high school. Don't do it again, I said. Any client communication goes through me or their assigned account manager. That's not negotiable, sure. Whatever you want. You're the boss. But he said it in a way that felt like he was humoring me. Like he was playing along with some silly rule until he could change it. That night I told Emma about the conversation. She was getting Lily ready for bed, brushing her daughter hair while Lily chattered about her day at school. Maybe you should set some clearer boundaries, Emma suggested. Write up a job description. Define his role specifically. He's family. I don't want to micromanage him. Emma caught my eyes in the mirror. Being family doesn't mean he gets to operate without rules of anything. It means the rules need to be clearer. But I didn't listen. I never listened when it came to Jake. 2 weeks later my operations manager, David, knocked on my office door. David had been with me for 8 years. He was steady, reliable, never caused drama. He closed the door and sat down across from my desk looking uncomfortable. There's some talk going around the office, he said. About the company's financial situation. What kind of talk? Jake's been telling people that we might be in trouble. That you've been hiding some cash flow problems. He says he's seen the books and things aren't as stable as you've been letting on. The room felt like it was tilting. He hasn't seen any books, he doesn't have access to our financial information. I know that, but some people don't. And what exactly is he saying? David shifted in his seat. That you've been borrowing from client retainers to cover payroll. That there might be layoffs coming. That maybe the company needs new leadership to get back on track. My hands were shaking. David, you know Dana, that is true. You've seen our quarterly reports. I know. But not everyone has. And Jake, he has a way of making it sound like he's just looking out for everyone. Like he's trying to protect the team from bad news you don't want to share. I spent that evening going through our financials with Emma, showing up everything. We were more than 6 months of operating expenses in reserve and our client retention rate was at an all-time high. Why would he lie about this? I asked her. Emma was quiet for a long time, staring at the spreadsheet. Maybe he's not planning to just work for the company. The thought hit me like ice water. You think he's trying to take over? I think he's positioning himself as the solution to a problem he's creating. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the late nights he'd been staying, all the casual conversations with my employees, all the questions about clients and contracts. Jake wasn't trying to help the company, he was trying to become the company, and I had handed him the keys. The next morning, I walked into the office to find 5 people crowded around Jake's desk, listening intently as he gestured with his coffee cup and spoke in that earnest, concerned tone he'd perfected. They scattered when they saw me, but not before I caught the looks. Worried glances, sympathetic eyes. The kind of looks you give someone who's falling apart and who doesn't know it yet. I asked Jake. Just grabbing coffee with the team, building those relationships, but I knew. Finally I knew. My brother wasn't here to rebuild his life, he was here to tear down mine. The confrontation happened on a Tuesday morning, October. I'd spent the weekend documenting every lie Jake had told, every boundary he'd crossed, every seed of doubt he'd planted in my employees' minds. I called him into my office at 8 a.m. sharp. Sit down. Something in my tone must have warned him because the smile flickered for just a second. But he recovered quickly, settling into the chair across from my desk with that same casual confidence. What's up, boss? The act, Jake. I know what you're doing. I honestly have no idea what you're talking about. He was good. He looked genuinely confused, even a little. If I hadn't the last week investigating his behavior, I might have believed him. You've been spreading lies about our financial situation. You've been positioning yourself as some kind of savior while undermining my authority with my own employees. You've been trying to steal my clients. Jake's face cycled like he was trying on masks. Confusion, then finally settling on righteous indignation. Is this what Emma's been telling you? I knew she never liked me. Leave my wife out of this. She's been you against me from the beginning. I'm just trying to help the company, and she can't stand that I might actually be good at something. The deflection was masterful. Turn it back on Emma, make himself the victim, make me the paranoid husband being manipulated by his jealous wife. You told Marcus you were taking over his account. I suggested we could serve him better. That's business development. You told David we were hiding cash flow problems. I expressed concern about some patterns I'd noticed. That's due diligence. You've been holding unofficial meetings in the break room, telling people the company needs new leadership. I've been building relationships and sharing ideas. That's team building. Every answer came so quickly, so smoothly. He'd been prepared for this conversation. Probably rehearsed it. You're fired. Jake's hung in the air between us. For the first time since he'd walked into my office, Jake's mask slipped completely. The puppy dog expression vanished, replaced by something cold and calculating. You can't fire family. Watch me. The team won't stand for it. They know what's really going on here. They know you're panicking because I've been showing them what real leadership looks like. Get out of my office. Mom's gonna be so disappointed when she hears how you treated me. After everything I've been through, after I came to you for help, this is how you repay family loyalty. He was cycling through his greatest hits. The guilt trip, the family obligation, the wounded brother routine. 6 months ago it would have worked. Security will escort you out if you're not gone in 10 minutes. Garrett straightening his tie with deliberate care. You're making a mistake. The team respects me. They trust me. They know I'm the one actually looking out for them. 9 minutes. He walked to the door then turned back. You know what your problem is? You never could handle competition. Even when we were kids you had to be the favorite, the successful one. Well, maybe it's time for someone else to be in charge. After he left I sat in my office for 20 minutes trying to stop my hands from shaking. Then I called an all-hands meeting. 15 people filed into our conference room, and I could see it immediately in their faces. The division. About half looked concerned and sympathetic. The other half looked suspicious and guarded. As of this morning, Jake is no longer with the company, I announced. The reaction was immediate and telling. Some people nodded like this confirmed what they'd been expecting. Others looked shocked, even angry. Can you tell us why? Asked Jennifer from our creative department. I'd prepared for this question, but it still felt like walking through a minefield. There were fundamental disagreements about the direction of the company and his role within it. Was it because he was asking questions about our financial situation? This from Tom, one of our junior account managers. Our financial situation is solid. You can see our quarterly reports anytime you want. Jake, he showed us some numbers. Tom continued. Client retention data that suggested we might be in trouble. My stomach dropped. What numbers? Spreadsheet showing declining revenue over the past 6 months. Projected losses for next quarter. Those aren't our numbers. They had our company letterhead. I spent the next 2 hours going through our actual financials with the entire team. Line by line, quarter by quarter, showing them the truth. We were profitable, we were growing, we were stable, but I could see it in some of their faces. The doubt Jake had planted was deeper than facts could reach. He'd told them I was the kind of boss who would lie about the company's health, right up until the moment I laid them all off. And now I was standing in front of them insisting everything was fine, just like the lying boss he'd warned them about. 3 people gave notice that week, 2 more the week after. Each resignation letter was professionally worded and polite, but I could read between the lines. They'd rather look for new jobs than wait around to see if Jake had been right about the company's instability. The ones who stayed weren't necessarily convinced I was telling the truth. Some of them just couldn't afford to leave without another job lined up. Emma found me in my home office that Sunday night, surrounded by resumes and job postings as I tried to figure out how to replace 5 experienced employees. How bad is it? She asked. I'm hemorrhaging talent. Half the people who are left don't trust me. Our biggest client is asking questions about our stability. And I can't shake the feeling that Jake isn't done yet. She sat down next to me taking my hand. He knows too much about our operations. Client lists, vendor relationships, internal processes. And he's got nothing to lose now. You think he'll try to poach clients? I think he'll try to burn the whole thing down. I was right. The first client call came on Wednesday morning. Our second biggest account. A local restaurant chain we'd been working with for 4 years. We've decided to make a change, their marketing director told me. We've found someone who really understands our needs. Can I ask who? Jake Thompson. He reached out to us with some very compelling insights about our current strategy. By Friday, we'd lost 3 more clients. All to Jake, who had apparently set himself up as an independent consultant and was using inside knowledge of their accounts to undercut our proposals. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was coming home to find Lily and Ted at the kitchen table. "What's wrong? Uncle Jake came to my school today." Emma's face went white. "What?" "He was waiting by the pickup line. He said to tell Daddy that family is forever, even when family makes mistakes." My vision actually blurred with rage. Using my year-old daughter to send me a message crossed every line I'd thought existed. "Did he try to talk to you about anything else?" "He said he was sad that he couldn't come to family dinners anymore. He said maybe if Daddy wasn't so angry, we could hold friends again." I called Jake immediately. "Stay away from my daughter." "I don't know what you're talking about. You approached her at school." "I was in the neighborhood and saw her. I just said hello. She's my niece. If I see you within 100 yards of her school again, I'm calling the police." "Well, to call the cops on your own brother. Mom's really gonna love hearing about this." He hung up. That night Emma and I had the conversation I'd been dreading. "Maybe we should move," she said. "Start over somewhere else. I've put 15 years into this business. I can't just walk away from business. You've lost half your staff and a third of your clients. Jake's out there using everything he learned working for you to destroy what's left. So I should just give up. Let him win." "I'm not talking about winning or losing. I'm talking about protecting our family." She was right. I knew she was right, but admitting defeat felt like dying. What about Lily's school, her friends? What about Lily feeling safe? What about her not having to worry about her uncle showing up to manipulate her? That night I lay awake thinking about the company I'd built. The late nights, the sacrifices, the years of slowly building a reputation and a client base. All of it crumbling because I'd tried to help the person I should have known better than to trust. The next morning I walked into what used to be my thriving office and found 2 more resignation letters on my desk, Sarah of accounting and David from operations. The last 2 people I thought would never leave. David's letter was kind but clear. "The uncertainty around the company's future has made it impossible for me to plan my career here." Sarah's was shorter. "I've accepted a position elsewhere. 2 weeks notice." I called them both but neither answered. By noon it was just me and 3 junior employees who couldn't find other jobs yet. My brother had systematically destroyed everything I'd worked for, and he'd done it using the access and knowledge given him. The worst part, I'd seen it coming and chosen to ignore every warning sign because I wanted to be the hero in a story where there was no hero. Only victims and the people who created them. The final came 3 months later, delivered by a man in an expensive suit standing in to be my reception area. Process server. Jake was suing me. Wrongful termination, defamation and breach of fiduciary duty. The lawsuit claimed I'd fired him for asking legitimate questions about company mismanagement, and that I damaged his reputation in the industry. His lore was good. The filing made me sound like a paranoid tyrant who'd turned on his own brother for trying to save a failing company. Emma found me that evening sitting in my car in our driveway, unable to face walking into the house where I'd have to explain to my wife and daughter that we might lose everything. She knocked on the passenger window and got in without waiting for permission. "How bad?" I handed her the legal papers. She read through them in silence while I stared at our house, thinking about the mortgage payments I might not be able to make much longer. "He's suing for $2 million. She said finally. "The company's not worth half that anymore." "What does the lawyer say?" "That we can fight it, but it'll cost us everything we have left just to defend ourselves. Or we can try to settle." "With what money?" "The house. Our savings." Lily's college funds quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady but tired. "I've been looking at teaching positions in other states. Emma, my sister called yesterday. There's an opening at her daughter's school in Colorado. Good benefits, decent salary. We could rent a small place. I can't ask you to give up your life because I made this mess." "You're not asking. I'm telling you what we're gonna do." She reached over and took my hand. "Lily needs stability. I need to know we're safe. And you need to stop believing that fighting this will somehow undo what's already been done." The lawsuit dragged on for 8 months. During that time what was left of my company died completely. I couldn't focus on finding new clients when I was spending all my time with lawyers, and the few accounts we had left drifted away when word spread about the legal troubles. Jake, meanwhile, thrived. His independent consulting business grew rapidly, staffed by several of my former employees and built on relationships with my former clients. He even landed a feature in the local business journal about innovative entrepreneurs disrupting traditional service models. The article included a photo of him in his new office, wearing a confident smile and a quote about the importance of asking tough questions, even when family doesn't want to hear them. I up after reading it. The settlement conference happened on a gray Tuesday in March. Jake sat across the table from me in a conference room that smelled like stale coffee and broken dreams, looking healthier than I'd ever seen him. His lawyer presented their final offer. I would publicly acknowledge that Jake had raised legitimate business concerns during his employment, pay him $400,000 in damages and agree never to interfere with his professional relationships. In exchange, he would drop the lawsuit and we could all move on as family should. My lawyer recommended I take it. We couldn't afford to keep fighting and there was no guarantee we'd win at trial. Jake's story was compelling. Concerned family member tries to help, gets fired for asking hard questions, suffers reputational damage. The fact that he'd systematically undermined me and stolen my clients would be hard to prove in court. He'd been smart about it, careful to make everything look like legitimate business development or innocent concern for the company. "Do you accept the settlement terms?" Jake's lawyer asked. I looked across the table at my brother. He was trying to look solemn and professional, but I could see the satisfaction in his eyes. He'd won completely. "Yes." The wire transfer emptied our savings account, required us to take out a second mortgage on the house, and consumed every dollar of Lily's college fund. Jake walked out of that conference room $400,000 richer and with a legal document stating that his version of events was true. I walked out broke, defeated, and bound by a legal agreement that prevented me from ever telling anyone what had really happened. The moving truck came 2 weeks later. Emma had found us a rental house in Colorado, 3 bedrooms, small yard, walking distance from the elementary school where she'd be teaching. Lily handled the move better than I'd expected. Maybe because she was relieved to be somewhere Uncle Jake couldn't find her. I found work as a marketing coordinator at a mid-sized company, making about a third of what I'd been earning when I owned my own business. The work was fine, the people were decent, but every day felt like wearing clothes that didn't quite fit. My new boss was younger than me, full of energy and ideas about disrupting the marketing space. During my first week, he pulled me aside to ask about my previous experience. "You owned your own company, when'd you leave? Family business situation. It got complicated, that's rough. Well, we're glad to have your experience here." He meant it kindly, but it felt like pity. I was the guy who'd once been successful enough to hire employees, now grateful for a job that came with a cubicle and a 3% annual raise. The nightmare started about 6 months after the move. Always the same scenario, I'm back in my office trying to explain to my employees that everything is fine while Jake stands behind me, smiling and taking notes. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, remembering the feeling of watching something I'd built with my own hands crumble, while the person destroying it convinced everyone he was trying to save it. Emma suggested therapy. I went to 3 sessions before quitting. The therapist, a well-meaning woman in her 50s, kept trying to help me process the betrayal and rebuild trust. I didn't want to rebuild trust. I wanted to go back in time and never answer that phone call at 2 a.m. I wanted to send Jake money for rent and tell him to figure out his own career. Most of all, I wanted to stop seeing the looks of pity from people who knew I'd once owned a successful business and now worked in a cubicle, filing reports for someone else's company. Jake never contacted us after the settlement. No Christmas cards, no birthday calls for Lily, no awkward attempts at reconciliation. He'd gotten what he wanted and moved on. But I heard about him occasionally through mutual acquaintances. His business was expanding. He'd hired a dozen employees. He'd gotten married to someone new, bought a big house, joined the country club. Everything taken tree club. He'd used to build the life he'd always believed he deserved. 6 months ago I ran into Marcus, my former biggest client, at a coffee shop in Denver. I was there for a work meeting. He was in town visiting his daughter at college. "Good to see you," he said, and seemed to mean it. "How are things?" "Different, but good. How's the restaurant business?" "Can't complain. Actually, we ended up going back to our original marketing company after about a year. That consultant who took over your account, what was his name?" "Jake. He had some good ideas initially, but the execution never quite lived up to the promises. It should have felt like vindication. Instead, it just felt hollow. I'm sorry it didn't work out. These things happen. Business is business, right? Business is business. Family is family. And sometimes the two destroy each other so completely that you can't tell where one ended and the other began." I still think about that phone call at 2 a.m. sometimes. About the crying brother who needed help, and the successful brother who thought he could save him. I think about all the warnings I ignored, all the red flags I explained away, all the chances I had to set boundaries before it was too late. Mostly I think about Lily, who's 13 now and sometimes asks why we never see Uncle Jake anymore. I tell her that adults sometimes grow apart, that family relationships can be complicated, that not every story has a happy ending. What I don't tell her is that some people will take everything you offer them and use it as a weapon to destroy you. What I don't tell her is that the person most likely to ruin your life is the one you trust enough to let behind your defenses. What I don't tell her is that sometimes helping family means watching them fail from a safe distance because the alternative is failing alongside them. Emma and I are okay now. Not great, but okay. We've rebuilt our savings slowly, found our rhythm in this new place, learned to be happy with less. But I wake up some mornings and for just a moment I forget where I am. I reach for my phone to check messages from clients who no longer exist, planning meetings for a company that's been dead for years. Then reality settles in and I remember I'm the man who gave his brother everything, and learned too late that some people see generosity as just another word for weakness. The worst part isn't the money I lost, or the business I built that's gone, or even the years it'll take to recover financially. The worst part is that I did it to myself. I saw who Jake really was, and I chose to believe in who I wanted him to be instead. That's a special kind of that doesn't deserve a second chance.